You wrote down your goals this year. Nice. Then your spouse reminds you that the kids are off for winter recess next week, and you realize we're 40 days into the new year and you've made zero progress on your goals. If your goals are sitting in your phone's notes app like mine were, then your 2026 goals are already dying. But by the end of this video, you'll have a simple system you can run every week to actually finish what you start, plus a twist that most videos about goals ignore, which is that goals cost money, so you need to budget. Hi, my name is Justin, and I'm a CFP, product manager and Oxford grad. So I'm obsessed with two things: systems that execute and monies that align with real life. First, let me cut you some slack. If you've been lacking on the follow through when it comes to your goals, it's not because you're lazy. It's natural to get distracted or to run out of energy and enthusiasm. Basically, if you set goals in January, you're saying, I hope future me feels like doing this later. Well, future you is busy. And there's a second reason goals die that no one wants to talk about. That goals have hidden costs. Time costs, energy costs, and often money costs. If you don't plan for those costs, then your goals will eventually collide with real life. But there is a solution. So while writing down your goals is a necessary first step, you still need a system to execute. And I view a system as being a repeatable set of steps you follow that keeps you on track to achieve your desired end result. One other point worth making: you can build an incredible system and still end up executing the wrong goals. That's why I like the planning frameworks that ask questions that really get you to think and prioritize what's important to you. Questions like, if you had enough money, what would you do with your life? Or if you had only a few healthy years left, what would you change right now? If this were your last day on earth, what would you regret not doing? You don't need a perfect answer, you just need direction, because execution is powerful and you want to make sure that it's pointed at the right target.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Now, if you want the screenshots and the exact checklist, the blog post is linked below. And if you're still deciding what goals to pick, I have a Wheel of Life assessment that you can also find in the comment section below. Okay, here's the best system for executing your goals. It's boring, but that's a compliment. It has 3 parts, and I'll show you the one part that most people skip: the weekly check-in. That's where goals either stay alive or they quietly die. So part 1, define done. Here, we're trying to know when to stop. You don't want a moving target. That's not fair to you. 2, you want to turn done into work. Okay, nobody wants more work, but until that Tesla robot gets delivered to you, you have to do it yourself. 3, run the work weekly until it's finished. Look, some of these tasks are going to be small. It's more about making continual forward progress. And then we add the twist.
You see, we twist.
Budget versus actual cost. I'm going to show you how I do this in Jira, which is a software product management tool that a lot of engineers use, but honestly, the system I'm sharing is tool agnostic, so you use whatever you're comfortable with. Some people like to use Notion or Trello or just a spreadsheet, and that's totally fine. Just make sure you track the same parameters. And in a minute, I'll show you how to add one field that stops goals from wrecking your cash flow. So one of my 2026 goals is to start my first bee colony. It sounds quirky, but it's actually the perfect example because it has a seasonal deadline, dependencies, and a real budget. Step 1. Let's be clear on your definition of done. I like to use the format of a user story, which goes like this: as a blank, I want to blank so that blank. Let me fill that in for you. So here's my beekeeping version of it. As a new beekeeper, I want to set up my first hive and start a colony in 2026 so I can build a fun hobby that also supports the local ecosystem. So that one sentence protects you from scope creep, and it keeps you from turning Start Beekeeping into a never-ending research project. As I'm reflecting on this story, I'm also asking myself, would I know when this is complete? Would another person understand what done looks like? If not, then I would go back and tighten up the sentence until you can answer yes to those questions. Step 2. Turn the goal into a simple hierarchy. In Jira world, we would refer to these as epics, features, user stories, and tasks. In the normie world, we would talk about these as being themes, then categories, goals, and then on the bottom of the hierarchy is the tasks. So these hierarchies are important because it'll make sure in the end that your goals are the right ones, because you can track them back to a larger theme. It's kind of like at work, if your office uses OKRs, objectives and key results, where your KPIs, so much jargon here, sorry, level up from the department up to the division, up to the corporation. So if you've watched my first video about adopting the right mental framework for setting and achieving goals, then you'll recognize themes as wheel of life categories, which is just a way to make sure that you're not neglecting any key areas of your life, because you don't want to have all your goals focused around, say, careers, and then your spouse leaves you because you have no relationship goals. And if you're watching this video, we're probably all workaholics to an extent. And so the odds of this happening, while low, are, as they say, not zero. So to continue with my beekeeper example, my goals fall under the theme fun and recreation, and the category is hobbies. So by connecting my list of tasks to what my priorities are, I can feel reassured that my energy is being focused on the right things. The next piece is why your goals list never turns into action. And it's because most tasks are too vague to start. Step 3. Don't just make goals smart. You may have heard of the SMART framework, but make your tasks smart as well. Now, come on, how can we talk about goals and not mention the SMART framework? So this is what the acronym stands for. S stands for specific. You need to have an exact action that you're taking. M means measurable. There's some end result that we could define and prove out. A is achievable, means it's realistic. R stands for relevant, and T stands for time bound, which means that you set a due date. So when a task is smart, you can finish it. And when it's not, it becomes this vague blob that you're trying to avoid. So in my beekeeper example, I broke it into 6 tasks: bees, gear, space, a club to join, training, and installation. So all of these tasks were assigned to a progress status, like to do or in progress. They were assigned a due date, a priority level, a budget amount, if applicable, and I also assigned them to a theme, and I indicated whether there were any blockers, like I would need the bees, right? And I would need the equipment and a space cleared out for them before I could finish my last task, which would be to introduce the bees. So notice what's happening. We're turning, I want to be a beekeeper, into actions that can actually happen. So my goals typed into my notes app on my iPhone did none of this. That's why this is the secret sauce. Most people stop too early. They set the goals, maybe even break them into tiny tasks, but then nothing moves. Here's what you do starting next week. Pick 1 to 3 tasks, confirm the deadlines and the dependencies, decide what's good enough for that definition of done, then work the plan. If it's under 2 minutes, do it now. Blocked by something else, write that blocker down. The task is too big, split it into multiple tasks. At the end of the week, ask yourself what moved, what didn't move, what's blocked, what changes next week. You can tell that this wasn't the typical motivational style video.
You can do it!
This one was a bit more mechanical, but that's why it will work. My son and I used to play Zelda Breath of the Wild on Nintendo Switch a lot when he was younger. And if you've played it before, you'll understand the feeling. You don't just beat the game by thinking about the final boss, right? Your end goal, and teleporting straight to Hyrule Castle to fight Ganon. You progress by finishing small quests, beating the blights, collecting what you need like ancient arrows, and showing up consistently. So your system for achieving goals works the same way. Execution is not just about doing more, it's also about choosing what not to do when other enticing options are presented to you. Here's a real life example. Later this month, on a Sunday afternoon, there are two things happening at the same time that I can choose from. So the two options: one, I can go to a New York Knicks game, or I can go to a Long Island Beekeepers Club meeting. All right, I'm not sure what you would choose and what I might really want to choose, but because I said that beekeeping matters to me this year, then I choose that. And the basketball game is the opportunity cost that I forfeit in support of my goal. So both are great choices to have. Better than the only choice I have this weekend, which is to finish framing out the bookshelves upstairs. But they're not the same choice, right? The point of a system is that it makes trade-offs visible, and it turns, oh, I want this goal, into, all right, I'm willing to trade something for this goal because it's important to me. So how much is this going to cost? Well, most goals and systems ignore money, and that's the mistake. A lot of goals require spending, on courses or equipment, travel, maybe memberships.
Cash rules everything around me.
So I recommend adding two simple fields to your tasks. Budget, which is what you think it will cost, and then once the task is complete and the numbers are in, actual cost, which is what you actually paid for it. And this does three things. So one, you prioritize better. Two, you stop getting surprised. And three, you align spending with what you say matters. So if you want to start today, here's the checklist. One, write one user story for your number one goal for this year and include a definition of done. Two, create 3 to 6 tasks that move your goal forward. 3, make each task SMART, especially by entering a due date. 4, pick 1 to 3 of these tasks for this week to complete. And then 5, add a rough budget to the task that costs money. So the definition of done, SMART tasks, weekly check-in, budget versus actual. Great. Then run this loop for 2 weeks before you optimize anything. The goal is execution here, not a perfect setup. So drop your number one 2026 goal in the comments below and tell me your tool that you're using, and I'll reply with 3 smart tasks that you can do this week. And in the next video, I'll answer the next question you'll have about your goal list, which is, where is the money coming from?
Show me the money!
And that's the bridge to cash flow, so you can fund the life that you're building. So enjoy the next video, and I'll see you next time.